All right, so here we go. So what I wanted to talk about is that there's some nutritional support that we can do, that everybody can do. And I just wanted to talk about the specific stuff that has come up. So let's get started. No, I don't know how to make it go forward.
Kristi, try hitting enter on the computer.
I did, and that's where, and there we go. That works. Okay, so hydration and good nutrition are actually vital, along with stress reduction, get regular mild exercise, getting quality sleep, and then there are some specific nutrients I'm going to talk about that appear to be very, very useful in dealing with the COVID-19 virus. Okay, so drink enough water. This is about the hydration. You need about 1/2 to 1 ounce of water for each pound of body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you should consume about 75 to 150 ounces of water. Now, I want to point a couple of things out about that. So 150 pounds, that means you need to consume more than what they say, the 8-ounce glasses, because that's more like 9 8-ounce glasses, and that's the minimum. And then about water, the other thing I wanted to mention is that water, it doesn't have to be all water. It's just fluid intake essentially. So so if you eat a lot of things like grapes, that will increase some of your fluid intake. So it's not entirely just water, but you really want to get at least the low end, which is the 1/2 of an ounce per body weight. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize is an 8-ounce glass of water is actually pretty small. Most people are drinking more like a 12 or a 14-ounce glass of water when they're drinking a glass of water. But you might want to, if you really want to find out, you might want to measure an 8-ounce glass, how much that actually is, and pay attention to how much water you're drinking. So,
Kristi,
yeah.
there's a book called "You're Not Sick, You're Just Thirsty," which is a fascinating read. And
Yes.
this doctor is talking about the fact that a lot of symptoms people have are caused by dehydration they don't realize that they're suffering from. And he's saying the same thing you are, lots of water.
Yes, and that's actually another thing when I treat my patients. That's actually something that comes up on a regular basis, because many of my patients are dehydrated, especially when they first come to see me, and they don't even realize they're dehydrated. And so it's something that comes up a lot. I see Dave's drinking water right now. Okay, so you need to eat a variety of fresh and unprocessed foods every day. So I have this little question mark, why? So you can consume quality nutrients that allow your body to function optimally. But like, really, why? Well, vitamins and minerals are actually cofactors in all the cellular products in your body. And processed food usually contains a lot of additives and excesses of salt, sugar, and other chemicals that do not support your body. Whereas whole foods like fruits, vegetables, fish, poultry, legumes, and milk contain a wide range of vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals, including zinc and vitamin D, that work in synergy to protect your health. So I don't know if you want me to talk a little bit about processed foods, because a lot of people don't think of some foods as being processed, but basically if you buy a food and it's in a box, well, I guess that's not exactly true either, but processed foods are actually really, really bad when you look at how much sugar they contain and how many additives, and also the salt. When you look at the salt in this, it's incredible. So whole foods are the way to go, but it's harder to do that.
Can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
So the salads that you find in the round plastic bowls in the grocery store.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they are all put together. Are they considered as bad as processed foods?
No, those are going to be more of a hybrid because the problem with most of those is the dressings are actually not very good. They're not very healthful. You would
Okay.
actually, it's better if you make your own dressing of just balsamic vinegar and like some oil, and that's actually healthier than those dressings that come with those box salads. But box salads are actually pretty good because it's all fresh vegetables. So.
And Kristi, if you can talk about oils, because that's another one to where there's a lot of bad oils out there.
That's actually outside of the scope of my presentation today. The oils that's a whole nother presentation, honestly. But good healthy oils are going to be things like avocado and olive oil and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of things that people think are healthy, like palm oils and things that actually say vegetable oil, those really aren't very healthy. And coconut oil is actually another good healthy oil. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So sugar, bad. I thought that was
No.
something that I noticed, but it actually is incredibly bad for you. And unfortunately, in this time, a lot of people are turning to sugar because, it's kind of a comfort food for a lot of people, but sugar, like I said in this slide, consuming a meal with sugars has been shown to decrease your T cell production, which is a major component of your immune system, for 3 full hours after you've eaten a sugar meal. And if not even a sugar meal, I mean, just if you've eaten a lot of added sugars or even just a little bit of added sugars. And then again, processed foods are just loaded with sugars. And so you can just check the label and look for added sugar, and it's almost always in there, and it's almost always fairly high. You want to keep it down to probably, well, honestly, the lower the better on the sugars.
Sugar bad, honey good.
You go.
And so, as I mentioned in the very first slide, the things I'm going to talk about now are just the actual nutrients that have shown to be good. And so we're going to talk about vitamin D first. And vitamin D receptors have been found in almost every organ in your body. And vitamin D does not treat disease, but what it does do is it regulates the body for better function, which includes the immune response.
So Kristi, can I ask a question about vitamin K?
I will talk about it. It's in the presentation.
Oh, okay. I'll wait.
Okay. So vitamin D deficiencies are related to when you have a vitamin D deficiency, what happens is you end up with increased inflammation throughout your body and an increased risk of antimicrobial and lung infections. And so basically, I think antimicrobial was the wrong word, I'm sorry. But basically, if you have a vitamin D deficiency, your body is more inflamed. When your body is inflamed, you end up not, basically you've got a lot of extra inflammation in your system, and that causes all kinds of things to go haywire, and it makes you tired, and it makes you just not able to function very well, because it really slows down all the rest of the functioning. And when you've got inflammation going on in the system, your immune system is kind of working a little bit on that and not just on whatever it is that you're actually fighting. If you're fighting a virus or something, inflammation is not necessarily good. And in fact, one of the other problems in our world today is that we have, when we do have an inflammation response because of the immune system, a lot of times the inflammation is way worse than it needs to be, and it makes it harder for you to actually heal because you have too much inflammation in your system. there is a very interesting article. I have the little thing there. It's available at SSRN 3571484 that talks about COVID-19 and vitamin D supplementation and how it could improve the clinical outcomes. So that means that once you get the virus, if your vitamin D levels are actually sufficient, you end up with a much less, you have less chance of death, and then you also end up with fewer symptoms. But if you do end up progressing further because of other comorbidities, you will also, you're less likely to have as much of a problem if you've got vitamin D in your system. So where do you get vitamin D? Well, sunshine is honestly the best way because your body creates vitamin D, but most people don't get enough sunshine. You need a full dose. A full sunshine dose is actually 10,000 IUs. That sounds like a heck of a lot because the daily requirement is actually only 800 IUs. Now, remember that daily requirements are actually recommended. Daily requirements are set up so that it keeps you from actually getting sick. So honestly, you really want more than the recommended daily value. That's just what you want for minimum. And the more research that I've been seeing on vitamin D, the more I would recommend a much, much higher dose. And as it says here, if you don't get enough sunlight, your intake should likely be closer to 1,000 IUs a day. And I would say 2,000 or 3,000 IUs a day when you're trying to raise your vitamin D levels. So besides sunshine, also you have to be in the sun without without sunscreen. And sunscreen, yeah, that's one of the problems because sunscreen makes it so that you aren't actually producing the vitamin D because the sunscreen is keeping the sun from hitting the areas that you need. So
You'd either be healthy or you can get cancer of the skin, right?
You got this Russian choice.
That's right.
Moderation, moderation.
So food sources include salmon and herring, like sardines, cod liver oil, canned tuna, egg yolks, and then they fortify several foods with vitamin D, which is milk, orange juice, cereals, oatmeal, and soy milk. But frankly, all of those things are not particularly healthy. The orange juice just has too much sugar. It's not a terrible thing. But most of the time people are saying that they want you to drink skim milk, and that's not as healthy. As we were talking about the fats briefly, you're better off, well, anyway. So it's an interesting mixed bag because the fortified foods, at least people are getting vitamin D if they eat those fortified foods, but honestly, most of those fortified foods are not something I would recommend for true health. Okay, so now we're moving on to vitamin A. So vitamin A actually protects from bacterial and viral infections. It's essential for healthy surface linings of the eyes, mucous membranes, respiratory, urinary, and intestinal tracts. And as you know, COVID actually comes in because of surface linings. So you want to have good mucous membranes. That's actually protective. Also, vitamin A has to do with proper immune functioning. It plays a key role in making white blood cells that helps fight off infections in the body. And then you've got vitamin. This is one of the key things about the vitamin A and why I have it in the presentation, because vitamin D is really, really the most important thing. But it turns out that if you don't have enough vitamin A, then vitamin D does not function very well. So now where can you get vitamin A? So vitamin A is available as preformed vitamin A. Vitamin A that's preformed are from animal sources, so like liver, meat, fish, dairy. And then you've got the carotenoids. Those are the vegetable sources, essentially. So sweet potatoes, carrots, winter squashes, dark leafy greens, cantaloupe, lettuce, bell peppers, broccoli, and grapefruit. And there's actually lots and lots more, but I just picked a couple of random, I mean, not random, but those are the ones that have the most, and they continue to go down. But vitamin A is actually in a lot of vegetables. But in some cases, people cannot convert the carotenoids into the active form of vitamin A. And the active form of vitamin A is easier. You still have to convert the preformed vitamin A into the usable vitamin A, but it's easier than the carotenoids. Oh, great. It says my internet connection was unstable. I hope you heard that.
That is.
I heard it.
So,
Yeah, I heard it.
and cod liver oil is actually a great source of both vitamin A and vitamin D. And that's actually something that I sell a lot of in my practice. Okay, now we're moving on to magnesium. Magnesium is super important. As you can see from the slide, it helps with energy creation, protein formation, gene maintenance, muscle movements. It plays a very key role in contraction and muscle relaxation. And it also helps to regulate the nervous system. And it's part of over 600 biochemical reactions that are continuously performed by enzymes in your body. So it's super important to have enough magnesium. Here's the rub about magnesium. It turns out that most people are deficient in magnesium. I don't know about, the reason.
All right, Kristi, we lost you.
I guess I got lost. I got my internet connection's unstable. Is everybody still here?
Yes.
Yep, you're back.
Yep, you're back. You
Okay.
started saying that most people have sufficient magnesium, and I lost you after that.
Yes, most people have insufficient magnesium, and most people actually have they just don't get enough magnesium. Is it?
And also, we lost the presentation, so you're
Yeah.
not sharing anymore.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it back up. Okay.
Okay.
All right, awesome. So let's see. I don't know how much you heard of everything I said, but I think you got most of this slide. Any questions about this slide?
How do you get more magnesium? I don't think I got that.
Well, that's on the next slide.
Ah, okay.
Good question.
Okay, and it's there. Oh, actually, it's not. Did I skip? Is that slide missing? Uh-oh.
There it is. There it is. Yep.
Oh no, that slide is missing. Shoot. All right, great. Off the top of my head, I can't. I'm not doing so well getting. Let's see. Of course, it had to do it right there at that. All right. Well, I had a whole list of things that give you magnesium, and I don't know what happened to it. But chocolate is actually one of them, which is pretty nice.
Finally,
Good to
news.
know.
Magnesium is it's actually found in a lot of places, as it says here, in the earth, the sea, plants and animals and humans. So all of those magnesium sources are actually it's surprisingly easy to get magnesium in some ways. The only problem is that magnesium from plant sources are not as bioavailable as magnesium from meat sources. So it's harder to get.
So cannibals get a lot of magnesium, is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
What type of meats are they, Kristi? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head. It's shellfish is one of them for sure. Oh, salmon is another one. No, maybe not. I know shellfish is. I remember that one.
Okay.
I can't believe I had this whole list and now it's gone. But I can get that information to you guys after the fact.
Thank
My
you.
internet connection keeps
Sounds
being
good.
unstable. Sorry. So what's really an important takeaway from this is that deficiency in either vitamin A or magnesium actually makes it so that you are not using the vitamin D that you have. Because one of the other things that people don't realize about vitamin D is that vitamin D requires vitamin D is, you've got blood levels of vitamin D, which is what they always measure when you go to the doctor and they measure your vitamin D levels. But just because you have sufficient vitamin D levels in your blood, it doesn't mean that you're actually getting the vitamin D that you need to do the things that your body needs to do with vitamin D, because it's not the one that's measured in your blood is not actually the active part of the vitamin D that actually does its work. And what the vitamin D does is it does the it turns genes on and it turns lots of genes on and other genes off. And while it's doing that, what it actually is doing is regulating the immune system. So so if you don't have enough vitamin A and you don't have enough magnesium, then even if your blood levels of vitamin D check out, you're actually not getting the benefit of having vitamin D in your system, even though if your blood levels say that they're okay. And that kind of stuff is not really known to most people. So just because your blood levels of vitamin D are fine, that doesn't mean that your vitamin D is working if you don't have enough magnesium and you don't have enough vitamin A, because it requires magnesium and vitamin A for your genes to be regulated by vitamin D. It's kind of fascinating, actually. It's very complex. All of this stuff is extremely complicated. That's why it's so hard to put together a presentation about this stuff. Okay, so then just really quickly, zinc. Zinc is actually known to help stop viral replication. I have a little note there because the viral replication it is known to stop is the flu virus. The flu virus is a coronavirus, but we don't know for sure how much it helps with the novel coronavirus. And as I said in the slide, you have to be very cautious when you take high amounts of zinc because it can impair your copper status, which can cause anemia, and it also can interfere with magnesium absorption. And it should not be taken at the same time as magnesium, calcium, copper, folic acid, and iron, which is another reason why I don't actually like oh my goodness, what did you guys get to hear?
Okay, so while you're getting going again, Kristi, here are 10 sources of we're talking about dark chocolate, avocados, nuts, legumes, tofu, seeds, whole grains, some fatty fish, bananas, and leafy greens, if you believe Siri.
Yeah, and again, though, those are almost all plant sources of magnesium, which is less bioavailable than the salmon and other sources of magnesium. So it's very, there's just a lot to nutrition. Okay.
So Kristi, we got to when you were saying that don't take zinc with these things, and that is why, and then that was it. That was why. What? I don't know why.
Okay, well, that is why I don't actually recommend multivitamins, because the multivitamin has the zinc with the
Oh.
magnesium and everything all together. And so you end up taking it all together, which is not particularly helpful because you really don't want to take the zinc at the same time as you take some of these other vitamins. It's, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So like wait an hour before you take the zinc, or
Well, yeah, at least. Really, it just sort of depends too on how your body is functioning, how you're digesting your food. I mean, there's just a lot of variables that people have no idea, but there's so many variables. Me- Goodness. All right. Can everyone see the zinc again?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. So foods that are high in zinc include oysters, shellfish, meat, eggs, vegetables, kale, and mushrooms, legumes, nuts, seeds, whole grains, milk, and dark chocolate.
Hmm.
You know what? I'm wondering. That's actually there are a lot of those foods are also relatively high in magnesium. Okay, so there. Okay, so now we're going to talk about vitamin K, like Judy asked about. So there was actually a really recent study done in the Netherlands, and they concluded that a deficiency in vitamin K may be linked to worse COVID-19 outcomes. Now, here's another little tidbit about vitamin K and vitamin D. It turns out that vitamin K also helps you use vitamin D as well. And so it's not clear if it was a deficiency in vitamin K or if it was a deficiency in vitamin D, or if it was both, or it probably is both. And vitamin D and vitamin K are both fat soluble vitamins. So that's just, I guess, an interesting tidbit. It has to do with water soluble versus fat soluble. So if you're eating something that's got fat in it, then the vitamin D and the vitamin K is going to absorb better into your body versus if you're taking a vitamin D supplement with water or something like that. But anyway, it's pretty interesting. So one of the things that I would highly recommend that people do is try to make sure that you have good sources of those vitamins that I've talked about. And here we go. Okay. So
Now, can I ask a question about vitamin K?
okay, go ahead. I was
Well,
questions.
so years ago, you never heard about vitamin K along with vitamin D. And recently, I've heard that you should only take vitamin D that also contains vitamin K. What do you think about that?
I honestly don't know enough about that to answer that question.
Okay.
From what I understand, it's better to take the vitamin K with the vitamin D, but I don't know why, which I think was what your actual question was.
Okay.
And I don't know the why on that. In summary, vitamin D levels are probably key in protecting yourself from the novel coronavirus, but you also must make sure that you're getting adequate levels of A, K, and magnesium. Zinc may also help, but you should avoid taking zinc at the same time as magnesium. Stay hydrated. Eat a healthy diet of unprocessed fresh foods for optimal health. Avoid stress as much as possible. Exercise moderately and get some sleep. I don't remember. I thought I had sleep in the very beginning, but I may not have mentioned that. but it's also extremely important for immune system function. Okay. All right. Any more questions?
I wanted to quickly say that I think my wife had gone to an integrative medicine doctor before, and because she was experiencing a lot of stress, so they did tell her to take a vitamin D and K mix. Just take that. That might help her with her stress.
All kinds of there's just, you can do so much with nutrition, and unfortunately there's so many people who they don't eat a good diet, and they just don't get enough of these micronutrients that I've talked about before in other presentations. It's just so important, and that's why I'm almost always harping on it. I know people are probably sick of hearing me talk about micronutrients and wanting to get micronutrients in, but they're just so important, and it really makes you healthier, and it increases, and if you're already healthy, then you're going to fare much better if you catch something like the COVID-19 virus, the novel coronavirus.
Kristi, what's the role of fish oil?
The role of fish oil?
Or what does fish oil do for you?
Well, fish oil does all kinds of things for you. It helps to thin your blood slightly, which is actually good, because most people, their blood is just a little bit sticky, just a little bit, not like my condition that I have. Let's see. I'm not as good at taking these like right off the cuff, I'm sorry. But fish oil is mainly, it's really good because it gives you omega-3s, and that's one form of a very important part of fatty acids. So fatty acids are required. Every single cell membrane has fatty acids in it, and it's very important to have fish oil because fish oil gives you omega-3s, which are the best kind of fatty acids for your health. And most people don't get enough omega-3s. They get way more omega-6s because omega-6s are easier to get, but omega-6s don't convert down. There's a chain of conversions, and they don't convert as easily to the healthy stuff that you want, because basically omega-6s require more steps to convert into the forms that your body really wants. And so, and also they convert down a different chain. It's hard for me to explain what I mean, but I don't know if I answered your question well.
Someone would have generally told me that the odd number of omegas are good omegas and the even number of omegas are bad omegas. They just generalize it to me that way.
I had not heard that. That's interesting. But omega-3s are definitely much better than omega-6s. But you still need omega-6s. It's just that in our environment, they get way more omega-6s, and so the ratio is not favorable because they're eating too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s. So taking omega-3s, which is fish oil, is going to give you a better ratio, and the better the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6s, the healthier your body will be.
Good.
There was a couple of other things I had written down. Great. Well, that's too bad. So, unfortunately, the way that my computer was all working this morning, or not working as the case actually was, things are a little bit crazy for me, but I hope that was a very informative presentation and you guys got something out of it.
Very, very good, Kristi. That's great.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. It was a great topic.
Yep, that's very good.
Yes, thank you.
And also, I do sell cod liver oil, and I also sell an amazing vitamin D product. I didn't talk about vitamin D delivery, but one of the things about vitamin D actually is that it's hard to get good bioavailable vitamin D. And the particular product that I have is it's a liposomal product. So it actually is packaged in these things called micelles, which you guys don't care about. But the point is that it's much more bioavailable, and it has vitamin K in it as well. And the vitamin D K supplement is it's just a really great supplement. So if anyone's interested, I can ship some to you.
I am. I'll get back to you on that one for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So in fact, how do we get in touch with you? Would I just email you?
Yeah, sure. I can give you my phone number. Are you still recording, Judy? Because I don't want my phone number to be
Oh,
recorded.
sweet.
Presentation. Oh, I still got the presentation up, don't I? Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. Judy, you're talking, but I can't hear you. You're muted.
Do you see the chat button at the bottom of the screen? You can type your phone number in the chat, and then everyone can get it, but it won't be recorded.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, there we go. All right.
Do you have a catalog or a list of what you have that you can send out?
No, I don't actually. I mean, I have so many supplements, it's not really even funny. I mean, I've got over 250 supplements that I sell regularly that are standard process nutrition supplements, and Mediherb, which are my two favorite lines. And then I've got some other lines, and then I've also got the new products that I was just talking about. Actually, this new vitamin D3 stuff is from a company called Quicksilver. And I'm learning more about that now because, well, I'm just learning more about it because of some other things that have happened lately. So I'm bringing some more lines in that I didn't used to have. I used to only have 2 or 3 really major lines, and now I've got access to even more. But it's so hard because there's so much to learn, and there's so many nuances to all of this. And I don't know if that was clear in my presentation, but you can probably tell. Yes, Judy.
Do you still do the testing with the vitamins on each individual person?
Yes, I do.
Do you want to tell people how you do that?
Wow.
Well, it's almost 8:30.
Well, you can say that in 2 minutes, right?
But basically, I do muscle testing to see which nutrients are the best for that individual, and it changes with time. Just because you test and some nutrient shows up as being what your body wants, as you get more of that nutrient, then the body doesn't want it so much anymore, and it wants other things. And my muscle testing is able to determine a lot of that.
Wow.
Do you do that with kids? Or how young,
Yeah.
I should say?
Oh, definitely. I can do it with kids. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And also a quick reminder for the contact information, it's on the members directory on the website.
Oh, thanks, Kristi. Got it.
And this, I was just going to go ahead and try and enter my email address. There. Okay. So hopefully you guys have all of that. And if you're interested in the presentation, I can send it to you if you want to read it. And I'll get those magnesium sources. I'll try and find that page. I don't understand what happened to it because I know I created it.
You did it.
So, all right. Well, thank you everybody so much.
Good job, Chrissy.
Thank you. I'll be calling you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anything else? Anyone
Hmm.
wants to say before we sign off? Wow, everyone's so quiet. I can't believe it.
It's quiet.
I know.
I am busy writing down your number.
I'm not used to getting up this early anymore.
Right.
Isn't it the truth? It's like, what happened?
Well,
we
I
don't
had
have
to get up and drive to the office so that I could do my presentation. So, because I don't have a capability to do that at home.
We don't have to drive this meeting anymore, which helps. You don't have to get up quite as early.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Works quite well, pretty well, matter of fact.
It's the driving back home that's actually worse than driving to the meeting.
Rich, are you still in Sedona, in Arizona?
No, I'm in Santa Clara, but we're going back to Arizona on Saturday
Okay.
and bouncing back
Oh, wow.
and forth. Bouncing back and forth.
Yeah. I imagine things there are much more open than they are here.
Yes, they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
but most people wearing masks and so on. But yeah, things are more open than here, but not entirely open.
Wow.
Well, be careful even out there. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for
Okay, well,
tuning in.
Thank you for the presentation.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And
Yes, it was good.
Have a good Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yep.
Is that
Have a
Monday?
good Memorial Day.
Yes.
it's
I
happy.
can't even tell.
Yes.
I know. Isn't it?
The fact that we know today's Thursday was already a good thing.
That's right.
That's
It's
true.
It's easy to miss what day we're on.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
See
Yeah, take
everybody
care,
next
everybody.
time.
Talk to
Okay.
you next time. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye.